It happened on a quiet Sunday afternoon, the kind of day that usually slips by unnoticed. My father invited us over for lunch. Nothing unusual, though the invitation came with a strange urgency. My brother, my sister, and I arrived at the old family home around noon. The table was set with too much food, and he looked oddly nervous, like someone about to confess to a crime. We made small talk at first. He asked about our kids, our jobs, the weather. We humored him, not suspecting anything. Then, after clearing his throat and pushing his plate away, he said, "There's something I want to share with you." He looked around the table, meeting each of our eyes. "I've met someone. Her name is Alina. We've been seeing each other for a year." That was the first jolt. A year? He had been hiding this for that long? He continued, "She's 25 years old, and we're going to get married." The silence was immediate and suffocating. I watched my sister's fork freeze halfway to her mouth. My brother let out a short laugh. Assuming it was a joke, I just stared, waiting for the punchline. But my father looked calm, even hopeful. "She makes me feel alive again," he said, voice steady. "She's not after money or anything like that. She has her own job, her own dreams." But we laughed together. We talked for hours. "I haven't felt like this since your mother." That name, our mother, cut through everything. She had passed away 5 years ago, and her absence still hung like a shadow in this house. Hearing her name now, invoked in defense of a new woman, felt like betrayal. "But Dad," I finally said carefully, "she's younger than your grandkids. Do you really think this makes sense?" He didn't flinch. "I'm not asking for permission. I'm telling you. I'm happy again, and I believe she truly loves me." We left that day stunned, disturbed, and divided, uncertain whether we'd just witnessed a rebirth or the beginning of a painful mistake. A week after the announcement, my father invited us back, this time to meet her, Alina. The air was heavy with unspoken judgment when we arrived. My sister had already made up her mind that this was some kind of scam. My brother was half curious, half disgusted. As for me, I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. But I'll admit, I didn't walk into that dinner expecting to like her. She answered the door herself. She wasn't what I imagined. No flashy jewelry, no designer clothes. Just a simple navy dress, flats, and barely any makeup. She was ordinary, maybe even shy. "Hi," she said, offering a handshake. "It's really nice to meet you." Inside, she helped my father in the kitchen, setting the table, pouring drinks, asking us about our food preferences. She didn't talk much at first, as though she knew every word could be twisted into a weapon. But once dinner started, she opened up a little. She spoke about her job at a local art gallery, how she loved old European films, how she and Dad would watch Casablanca or La Dolce Vita and talk for hours. She smiled at his stories, laughed easily, and kept holding his hand like they were high school sweethearts. But the tension never left the room. My sister barely looked at her. My brother kept asking questions that felt like traps. "So, how did you two meet? What exactly attracted you to someone more than twice your age?" Alina answered politely, even when her cheeks flushed. After dinner, while Dad went to make coffee, she asked to speak to me privately on the porch. She didn't wait for me to speak first. "I know what this looks like," she said, "and I know you don't trust me, but I'm not here for money or security or any of the things you're probably thinking." I said nothing. "He makes me feel safe, seen. I've never really had that. Not with anyone. I know it's unusual, but it's real." I searched her face for cracks, and for a moment, I didn't see a predator. I saw a person. Young. Yes, maybe naive, but possibly sincere. Family fallout. If my father thought our meeting with Alina would soften us, he was mistaken. Within days, the rest of the family knew. My aunt, my mother's older sister, called in disbelief. "He's lost his mind," she said, her voice sharp with grief and fury. "Your mother's body isn't even cold." That hurt. 5 years may not be fresh, but for her, and honestly for us, it still felt like yesterday. My cousin Sam sent a text saying he wouldn't be attending any more family gatherings if Alina was present. My sister went further. She threatened to cut off contact entirely if the wedding went ahead. "This is sick," she snapped during a call. "She's younger than me, younger than your daughter. Are we seriously going to pretend this is normal?" I tried to be the middle ground, tried to be the bridge, but every conversation with Dad became more strained. "She's not replacing your mother," he kept saying. "She's not trying to. This is about me. I'm not dead yet." We suggested therapy. We asked him to consider what Alina might really be after. We reminded him, gently, of how vulnerable he was, of how grief can disguise itself as love. But he wouldn't hear it. "I know what I'm doing," he said, again and again. "She's not using me. She takes care of herself. She's never asked for a cent." We couldn't prove otherwise. But that didn't ease the discomfort. It wasn't just the age gap. It was the speed, the secrecy, the sense that we were being shut out of his life. And the truth was, we were. What stung the most was this feeling that our father had moved on without us, that he had rewritten the story of our family and skipped a few painful chapters, that we, the children who helped him through the funeral, who visited every week, who made sure he ate and got to his doctor appointments, were now just obstacles in the way of his new happiness. In his eyes, we were clinging to the past. In ours, he was running from it, and the space between us kept growing. Cracks in the facade. At first, nothing seemed to change. My father and Alina still posted cheerful photos, coffee shop dates, trips to the botanical gardens, her smiling with her head on his shoulder. They looked like something out of a strange, mismatched romance movie. But over time, the sparkle dulled. He started showing up alone to our weekly lunches. "Alina's not feeling well," he said once. "Migraine." Another time it was, "She's working late." Eventually, he stopped offering explanations altogether. Then came the stories. My cousin spotted her downtown, laughing with a man around her age at an outdoor bar, their body language not exactly distant. A neighbor told my sister she often saw Alina come and go at odd hours, usually when Dad wasn't home. We didn't know what to believe. Maybe it was innocent. Or maybe the warnings we had voiced were finally becoming real. Still, when I asked him gently about it, he got defensive. "People gossip," he snapped. "They don't know her. They see what they want to see." But I could tell something was different. His eyes, once defiant and filled with stubborn joy, now carried something else. Doubt. Maybe even shame. He'd stopped talking about her with the same warmth. He didn't mention wedding plans. There were no new photos, no more updates. One afternoon I stopped by unannounced. Alina answered the door, visibly irritated. Her voice was flat. "He's resting," she said. "He's been tired." When I walked into the living room, I found my father in his recliner, staring at the muted television. His face lit up when he saw me, but it faded quickly. "She's just stressed," he said before I even asked. "Young people have a lot on their plate. It's not easy, you know?" I sat down next to him, unsure how far I could push. "Are you okay?" He paused, then gave me a sad, tight smile. "Maybe I just wanted to believe someone could love me again," he said. "Really love me. Not because I was old or lonely, but just because I was me." I didn't know how to answer that. And maybe neither did he. The wedding that almost was. The invitations had already been sent. A small ceremony in the rose garden at the Arboretum, one of the last places my parents used to visit together. My father said it reminded him of peace, of beginnings. To us, it felt like rewriting the past in permanent ink. None of us RSV'd. It wasn't an act of cruelty. We just couldn't do it. My sister said attending would feel like burying Mom all over again. My brother, ever the realist, said he couldn't pretend this was okay just to keep the peace. I stayed quiet, torn between guilt and fatigue. I had tried to understand. I had tried to talk him down. And I had failed. Then, 1 week before the wedding, my father called us. He didn't sound angry or heartbroken, just tired. "I've canceled the wedding," he said. The line went silent for a second too long. I didn't know whether to be relieved or worried. "Why?" He sighed. It wasn't right. Not for her. Not for me. He told us he'd sat with the decision for days, ever since a night when Alina didn't come home until 2 a.m., claiming she'd lost track of time at a friend's place. He didn't accuse her of cheating. He didn't mention betrayal. But something in him had shifted. A veil had lifted. "She's not a bad person," he said softly. "I think she cared about me, in her way." but we were filling different voids. I was trying to escape loneliness. She was trying to feel safe. That's not love. Not the kind that lasts. We didn't say much. There wasn't much to say. I wanted to feel needed again, he admitted. I thought maybe this was my second chance. But what I needed wasn't marriage. It was connection. I confused the two. He didn't cry. He didn't ask for sympathy. Just honesty. She helped me, he said. Helped me wake up. But I think I can walk on my own now. For the first time in a long while, I believed him. And maybe, so did he. Aftermath and understanding. Alina left the house 2 weeks after the canceled wedding. No big scene, no suitcase-dragging drama. Just one last quiet morning when my father walked her to the door, hugged her for a long time, and then stood on the porch, watching her disappear down the street like a figure in fog. He never spoke poorly of her afterward. No bitterness, no accusations. When asked, he simply said, "She was part of a chapter I needed to live through." That's all. At first, we tiptoed around him, unsure what kind of grief would surface, but it wasn't the sharp, all-consuming kind we'd seen after Mom died. This was different. A softer sadness. Like he'd been holding something too tightly, and had finally let go. Over the next few months, my father changed in quiet, ordinary ways. He started volunteering at the library. Picked up gardening again. Joined a film club at the community center. The house, which had felt too big and hollow for so long, slowly became his own again. Not a shrine to the past, and not a stage for a new romance, but something in between. Something honest. He still had her teacup on the shelf for a while, a photo of them tucked into a drawer. Nothing obsessive, just traces. Memories. And we, his children, saw him differently now. Not just as dad. Not just the man who read bedtime stories and built shelves and watched the news with a tired sigh, but as someone still trying, still feeling, still learning how to live in a world where time moves forward even when you wish it wouldn't. We stopped judging him for wanting to be loved again. Who were we to tell him his heart had an expiration date? Maybe the timing was wrong. Maybe the person was too. But the desire to connect, to feel seen, to matter to someone, that was never wrong. In the end, he taught us something none of us expected, that grief doesn't end in silence or stillness, and that love, even misguided, even short-lived, can be part of healing. He didn't get remarried, but he wasn't alone either. Not really.